What if a kiss is for science, not passionate love? What starts as a scientific exchange soon leads to something far more complex, a romance that spans across galaxies. Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on new stories. Jasper stood in the middle of his lab, hands gripping the control panel of the teleportation device he had spent countless hours perfecting. He wore a grin that could only be described as scientific cockiness, as though pressing this button was going to make him the hero of science. Today is the day I change the world, he thought, his eyes gleaming with excitement, like a kid who just discovered a magic trick. He took a deep breath, ready for the journey into the unknown. With a quick press of the button, the world around him suddenly vanished. What the hell is this? A blinding flash of light enveloped him, and for a moment, Jasper felt like his body was being ripped apart into a million little pieces, flying in every direction through space. Before he could even comprehend what was happening, everything went dark. Bam! Suddenly, Jasper crashed to the ground, face first into a soft, grassy surface. He had no time to feel the pain, as he immediately sprang up in panic. "This is definitely not my lab," Jasper gasped, looking around wildly. He was in a bizarre forest where the trees looked like giant neon signs. The leaves shimmered in shades of green and purple, glowing as if they were having their own little light show. He glanced at himself still in his lab coat, which was now covered in dirt and scratches. Okay, this is not Earth. He stood up and looked around. Everything felt wrong. These trees were tall and sleek, glowing with an eerie luminescence. They weren't your typical forest giants, these were like something out of a futuristic fantasy movie. The leaves weren't just green, they were glowing like neon signs in an alien nightclub. Jasper's heart raced as he desperately tried to reboot his communicator. He pulled it off his wrist and saw that the screen was shattered, wires sparking like they were mad at him. Great! I'm stranded on a strange planet with a broken gadget. Just perfect. Then, a rustling noise came from the bushes. Jasper froze, his heart pounding. Two glowing eyes emerged from the underbrush. Oh God, I hope that's not a space monster, he thought, standing completely still. But no, it wasn't a monster. It was worse. A group of tall, humanoid figures stepped out of the glowing trees, their skin a vibrant shade of blue. They looked like they had just walked off the set of a sci-fi movie, an alien rave party gone wrong. One of them, a female with skin that shimmered like a disco ball, stepped forward. Her violet eyes gleamed with curiosity, examining Jasper as though he were some kind of rare, alien specimen. Hello, Jasper said, trying to sound as calm as possible, but knowing that the last time he tried to communicate with anything other than a human, it didn't end well. I come in peace. The alien woman paused, her eyes widening. She touched a small device on her wrist, and, to Jasper's utter disbelief, she began speaking in perfect English. Fascinating. I have never encountered a creature like you, she said, her voice melodic and oddly soothing. I'm Jasper, a human from Earth, and, where exactly am I? He asked, trying to hide the nervous tremor in his voice. She tilted her head thoughtfully. Earth? I am unfamiliar with that planet. You are on Zorgan 9. Zorgan 9. Jasper repeated, his mind trying to wrap itself around the fact that he wasn't only lost in space, but on an entirely different planet. The alien woman smiled. I am Kada, lead Xenobiologist of the Zorgan Science Academy. Wait, you speak English? Jasper stammered, still in shock. He tried to convince himself this wasn't some elaborate dream. Yes, of course. I have a universal translator. Your language was simple enough for it to decode, she said, as if that was the most normal thing in the universe. Okay, so I'm not just hallucinating this, right? Jasper muttered, still unsure if he was dreaming or if the teleportation experiment had turned him into a lab rat for some intergalactic science project. Kada laughed softly, her violet eyes twinkling. It seems like you're in for quite the adventure, human. Jasper could only nod, half terrified, half amused. I think I've just become part of the universe's most ridiculous science experiment. And so, their adventure began an accidental teleportation to a mysterious alien world, where even the trees had better lighting than most clubs on Earth. Jasper stood frozen, like a deer caught in the headlights of an intergalactic UFO. The creature person before him was not just strange, but oddly mesmerizing. She had skin that shimmered like moonlight on a calm ocean, glowing faintly in a range of colors that made her look like a walking light show. Her skin was soft blue, glowing with a subtle light that seemed to pulse gently, almost like she was alive in ways that human biology would never understand. Her eyes, her eyes. They were a deep shade of violet, almost impossibly dark, like two swirling galaxies. When she blinked, it wasn't just her eyelids moving, it felt like the whole universe shifted. And those eyes? They were fixed on him like he was the only person in the galaxy. Which, given the circumstances, probably wasn't far from the truth. Jasper swallowed hard, trying to gather his thoughts. This was it. His brain was saying, stay calm, stay cool, but his heart was thumping like a drum circle at a cosmic music festival. Hi, he said, giving a little half-wave, suddenly unsure of every social interaction he'd ever had with another human being. The words came out like he was trying to greet a giant, glowing jellyfish instead of a person. I come in peace, maybe? Kada, the glowing blue enigma before him, tilted her head in a way that made Jasper wonder if she had just come from a planet where that was a totally normal gesture. She studied him, her violet eyes flicking over his lab coat and then back up to his face. The moment stretched into what felt like hours, and Jasper's palms were starting to sweat despite the coolness of this alien world. Then she smiled. And it wasn't a smile like the one you get when you find an extra fry in your McDonald's bag. No, this was the kind of smile that made the sun look dim in comparison. She seemed amused, curious. Like she had just found a new species to study and it was adorable. Fascinating, she said, her voice melodic and smooth, the kind of voice that made you want to hang on to every word, even if you didn't understand a single thing. She pressed a small button on a wrist device, and suddenly, her words came out in perfect English, which honestly was way more than Jasper could have hoped for. I've never seen a species quite like you before. She took a step forward, her movements graceful, like she was floating instead of walking. The soft light from her body seemed to create a halo around her, making it look like she was glowing from within. You must be from a far-off world." Yeah, you could say that," Jasper muttered, half laughing nervously. He wiped his sweaty palms on his pants. "I'm from Earth." He said it like it was the most normal thing in the universe, but let's face it, nothing about this moment was normal. Nothing about this planet, these glowing trees, or this glowing woman was normal. Kata's expression shifted into one of genuine intrigue, her eyes widening slightly, though her cool composure never faltered. "Earth? That's new to me. I am Kata. I am a Xenobiologist from Zorgan 9. She said it like it was just another Tuesday, which okay maybe it was, in her world. "And you are a human." Jasper did the only thing he could think of in this bizarre moment. He grinned awkwardly. "Yep. That's me. Human. Real regular Earth guy. I work with cells and genes and stuff." He felt his voice trail off, realizing that he was starting to sound like a walking science textbook. Not exactly the best impression to make in front of an alien, right? Kata took another step closer, and for a moment, Jasper thought she might have been reading his mind. She raised an eyebrow, her violet eyes sparkling with unspoken questions. "A biologist? How intriguing." She circled him slowly, examining him as though he were a curious specimen under a microscope. It wasn't creepy, though no, it was more like she was genuinely fascinated. "Your biology is so efficient." She almost seemed to be muttering to herself, her voice lilting as she observed his appearance, studying him like she was trying to unlock a new mystery of the universe. Jasper shifted uncomfortably. "Efficient? I mean, I am human, you know. We're pretty much the ultimate survivalists. That's kind of our thing. But, you're not checking me out for, like, research purposes, are you?" Her smile widened, though there was a trace of mischief in her eyes. "Oh, no. Not for that reason, human." She laughed softly, the sound ringing through the air like the notes of an ethereal bell. "You are fascinating, though. I've never seen such complex biology in person." Jasper blushed a little awkward, but trying not to show it. "Thanks, I guess. But, I have to admit, I wasn't exactly planning on meeting an alien today." "Why not?" she asked, her eyes narrowing in playful curiosity. "Zorgan 9 isn't a regular tourist destination." Jasper chuckled despite himself. "Not exactly on the map, at least, not the human map." There was another brief silence as Kata took another step closer. He could feel her presence more intensely now, like she was just this magnetic force, pulling him in with every word, every glance. There was something otherworldly about her, but also so completely alive. She wasn't just some cold, distant alien figure. She was curious, engaged, and oddly charming. "You should tell me more about Earth," Kata said, her voice soft, though the hint of excitement was unmistakable. "I would like to understand how your species evolved, and what your technology can do. This teleportation device," she motioned to the broken device on his wrist, "it's unlike anything we have seen. Did you bring it from your world?" Well, not exactly. I kind of built it myself, at least, I was working on it. Some minor kinks to work out, Jasper admitted sheepishly, looking down at the malfunctioning communicator. And, here we are. Kata's laughter was like music, light, airy, and effortlessly melodic. I do believe this will be an interesting exchange. A human with a malfunctioning teleportation device in my world. I'm sure we both have much to learn from one another. Jasper smiled, feeling a sense of ease he hadn't expected. Maybe this whole teleportation disaster wasn't the end of the world. Maybe it was just the beginning of a much stranger, much more exciting chapter. And for the first time, he realized he was actually curious, too curious about her, about this strange, glowing world, and about everything that was to come. I think you're right, he said with a grin. We definitely have a lot to talk about. And so, their journey began, one alien biologist, one human, and a universe full of questions that neither of them were quite ready to answer. But Jasper was starting to think maybe he didn't need all the answers right away. After all, what was life without a little mystery and a touch of humor? Jasper felt a bit like a fish out of water. No, scratch that. He felt like a human in an alien aquarium while Kata led him deeper into the glowing forest, her bioluminescent patterns lighting the way. The trees here seemed to hum softly, their glow pulsing in rhythm with their surroundings. It was like being in the middle of an intergalactic light show, with colors shifting every time the wind whispered through the branches. I still can't get over how alive everything is here, Jasper muttered, more to himself than Kata. The forest seemed to breathe, like the entire planet was sentient. He couldn't help but marvel at the way the leaves flickered like candles, then settled into soft, shimmering blues and greens. It was unlike anything he had ever seen on Earth. Kata glanced over her shoulder at him, her violet eyes twinkling with something akin to amusement. "You're not used to this?" she asked, her voice lilting with curiosity. "Not exactly," Jasper replied, looking at the plants around him. "On Earth, we have trees, but they don't glow, and they definitely don't look like they are planning to start a rave." Kata laughed softly, the sound as melodic as the gentle rustling of the leaves. "I suppose our trees do have a tendency to be a bit more luminous here on Zorgan 9. But they do not have raves. I will have to ask my colleagues about that term." Jasper chuckled, but then grew serious, fascinated by the exchange of knowledge. "So, what exactly do you study here? I mean, you're a xenobiologist, right? What does that mean for you?" "I study life, specifically, life forms like you. The biology of species from different planets, how they interact with their environments. It's endlessly fascinating." Kata's eyes gleamed as she spoke, her voice soft but full of passion. Her glowing skin rippled slightly in the dim light, and Jasper couldn't help but notice how utterly captivating she looked when she was excited. "What about you? What's biology like on Earth?" she asked, her voice dropping a little, as though the very question was as big a mystery as the one she had just posed. Jasper hesitated for a moment. "Well, we have, the basics. Cells, DNA, that whole genetic thing. It's a lot of trial and error. But humans, we're a bit messy in the way we do things. Like, we have emotions, and our behavior is often driven by those emotions. We do things not because it makes sense scientifically, but because, well, it just feels right. Kata's expression shifted into one of intense curiosity. Emotions. She stepped closer, her bioluminescent patterns swirling, casting ripples of light around them both. Please, explain. I do not understand this concept. Jasper found himself grinning despite the complexity of the situation. Yeah, emotions. Love, joy, anger, things that can make you do ridiculous stuff. Like falling in love with someone even if it makes zero scientific sense. At that, Kata's brow furrowed. Falling in love? That is inefficient. Are you enjoying this kind of story? Do you think their journey is just beginning, or is there more out there waiting for them? Leave your comments below. Galactic Conundrums would love to hear your thoughts. Let the story continue. Jasper laughed, realizing how absurd it must sound to someone who had never felt the rush of a heart skipping a beat. Yeah, I know. It doesn't always make sense, but it's part of being human. We feel things that don't have logical explanations. It's not just about survival, it's about connection, about wanting to share your life with someone. Kata stopped walking, turning to face him with an expression of genuine confusion. I do not understand. Why would you want to bond with someone for reasons that are not productive? Jasper scratched the back of his neck, looking for the right words. Well, it's not just about the end result, Kata. It's about the experience. The moments you share, the things you learn about each other. It's messy, unpredictable, but it makes life worth living. Kata seemed to process this, her violet eyes flicking to the side as if she were running complex calculations in her head. Interesting, she murmured. Then, suddenly, as though an idea had just clicked in her mind, she turned to him with a mischievous glint in her eye. Perhaps I will have to study this concept, this falling in love thing. For scientific purposes, of course. Jasper's eyebrows shot up in surprise. Wait, what? Before he could respond, Kata's voice was back to its usual calm tone. It seems like something worth investigating. Maybe I will attempt it myself. To better understand the process. Hold on a second. You're not planning on using me as a test subject? Jasper asked, his voice rising in disbelief, though he couldn't help but laugh at the thought. Kata smiled again, her bioluminescent patterns flashing briefly as if she were trying to keep her amusement in check. It would be unscientific not to. Jasper shook his head, laughing. You're killing me, Kata. Seriously. Maybe we should stick to the basics first. You know, like how humans communicate beyond just saying words. Kata looked intrigued. What do you mean? I am speaking with you now, are I not? Well, yes, but Jasper tried to find a way to explain, trying to avoid getting into the more awkward aspects of human interaction. Humans, we don't just communicate with words. We have body language, gestures, tone of voice, even how we look at each other. Kata tilted her head again, this time even more confused than before. You use your eyes to communicate. Jasper let out a short laugh. Yeah, pretty much. You know, when we like someone, we look at them a certain way longer, more affectionately, I guess. He suddenly realized how strange that sounded when explained out loud. It's like a silent language, but we don't even know we're doing it. We just feel it. Kata's face broke into a thoughtful expression. Interesting. So, when you look at me, is that how you communicate your affection? Jasper blinked, feeling a little awkward. Something like that. Fascinating, she mused, her eyes softening as she turned her gaze on him. You humans are so complicated. He chuckled, trying to make light of the awkwardness. Yeah, it's a miracle we're not all just walking chaos. The two stood in silence for a moment, the strange hum of the glowing forest surrounding them, but there was something more, an unspoken understanding forming between them. They were two beings from very different worlds, but somehow, they were learning to speak the same language. And just as Jasper thought they were about to move on to another topic, Kata spoke again, her voice playful. So, how do humans kiss, exactly? For science. Jasper groaned, slapping his forehead. Really? This is what we're doing now. I must understand, Kata said, her voice light. It is a fundamental aspect of your emotional exchange. It would be irresponsible not to study it. Jasper could hardly believe it, but as Kata stared at him with those curious, luminous eyes, all he could do was sigh and shake his head in defeat. Well, I guess there's no turning back now. And with that, the strangest and probably most scientifically accurate lesson in interspecies communication began. Jasper had always been a man of logic. A biologist, trained to observe, analyze, and make sense of the chaotic world around him. But as he stood next to Kata, amidst the glowing forest of Zorgan 9, he couldn't help but feel completely out of his depth. There was something magnetic about her, a pull he couldn't explain, but he could feel it deep in his chest. Kata, with her shimmering, almost ethereal skin, had become more than just a subject of scientific study. Her eyes, violet and intense, seemed to pierce through him, as if she could see straight into his soul. And every time she smiled, every time she laughed, it felt like the universe was humming in tune with his own heart. It was hard to ignore the way his pulse quickened when their hands brushed, the way his thoughts scrambled whenever she spoke in that melodious voice of hers. But as the days passed, the growing bond between them became harder to ignore. They were both learning from each other, exchanging knowledge, and in the process, they were unknowingly discovering a deeper connection, one that neither had expected. It was during a routine experiment with a teleportation device. Jasper was still trying to fix it after all that happened. The machine, sputtering and spitting out sparks like a dying star, surged unpredictably. The power core had become dangerously unstable, and in a split second, Kata was standing dangerously close to the device when a stray energy pulse shot out. Jasper's instincts kicked in. He lunged forward, grabbing Kata by the waist just as the burst of energy flared in front of them. He shielded her with his own body, the heat of the blast searing across his back, but keeping her safe. The world around them was a blur of light and sound, but in that moment, everything slowed down. As the chaos of the energy surge dissipated, the soft, pulsating glow of the forest felt almost soothing by comparison. Kata was still in his arms, her body slightly trembling, her breath shallow as she looked up at him with wide eyes. Jasper's heart was pounding not just from the adrenaline, but because she was so close. Too close. And for a heartbeat, the world felt completely still. "Are you okay?" Jasper asked, his voice hoarse, unsure if he was trying to reassure her or himself. He gently pulled back, keeping his hands on her shoulders, trying to give her space but also unwilling to let her go just yet. Kata looked up at him, her violet eyes softening. There was a moment of silence, a quiet understanding that passed between them. She nodded slowly, the faintest smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "Yes, thanks to you?" Jasper's breath caught in his throat. He hadn't expected to feel this, protective of her. He wasn't sure when it had happened, but he realized now that his feelings for her had become something more than just scientific curiosity. Before he knew it, his hand reached up, brushing a lock of her hair away from her face. His fingers lingered there for a moment longer than he intended, and the warmth between them seemed to intensify. And then, in a moment of spontaneous impulse, Jasper leaned in, his heart racing. He was so close to her now, so close he could see the shimmering glow of her skin, the way her bioluminescent patterns flickered softly like starlight. "Kata." He started, but the words seemed to get caught in his throat. The distance between them felt electric, charged with anticipation. This was it, the moment where everything changed. His heart was telling him to lean in, to kiss her, to make this connection real. But as he moved closer, Kata suddenly stiffened, her white eyes locking with his, filled with confusion and something else. "Jasper," her voice was quiet, almost hesitant. "What are you doing?" The question hung in the air, and Jasper pulled back, instantly embarrassed. I thought," he trailed off, realizing that what he had assumed was a natural progression of things was, in fact, a complete misfire. Kata stepped back, her face unreadable. "You want to kiss me?" she asked slowly, her tone unsure, like she was trying to translate something from one language to another. Jasper blinked, still feeling a little dazed. "Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of what humans do when they feel close to someone. It's, an expression of affection. A way to connect on a deeper level." Kata's eyes widened, her bioluminescent patterns flickering nervously. "But I thought, the purpose of your affection was to reproduce. Isn't that what you meant by feeling close to someone?" Jasper froze. Oh, right. He hadn't even thought about the cultural gap here. No. It's not just about that. Kissing isn't always about, reproduction. It's about showing you care, about connecting on an emotional level, a way to express love and trust, without needing to do anything else. Kata tilted her head, processing his words, but still clearly perplexed. "But your bodies, they merge when you kiss." Jasper was trying not to laugh, but the situation was just too absurd. Okay. I see the problem now. It's not always about merging biologically. It's about sharing a moment, connecting with someone. Kata still didn't look entirely convinced, but she took a step closer to him. "I'm not sure I understand, but I would like to learn. For scientific purposes." There was that mischievous glint in her eye again, as if she were trying to make light of the awkward situation. But somehow, her words felt more genuine than ever. Jasper couldn't help but laugh, the tension in the air lifting. For science, of course. Always for science. The way Kata smiled at him, her bioluminescent patterns swirling in shades of lavender and blue, made Jasper feel like he was standing on the edge of something both terrifying and beautiful. Maybe this was the moment where everything began, where the boundaries between them, human and alien, started to blur, and the lines between friendship, affection, and something deeper became a little less defined. "All right then, let's see what happens, Kata," Jasper said softly, his voice filled with equal parts amusement and anticipation. As the glow from the trees bathed them in soft, radiant light, it wasn't just the bioluminescence that lit up the world, it was the spark between them, the undeniable pull, the first true step toward a new kind of connection. And in that fleeting, quiet moment, they both understood, the universe, with all its mysteries and contradictions, had just become a little bit smaller. The air on Zorgan 9 felt different that evening. It was thick with the strange hum of the forest, the soft pulse of bioluminescent plants casting long, mysterious shadows across the ground. Jasper and Kata walked through the glowing underbrush, the planet's unique light show surrounding them like something from a dream. Despite the beauty, there was an air of uncertainty between them, like two people who had just stepped into uncharted waters. Kata was silent for a moment, her usual confidence now tempered with a hint of curiosity. "Jasper," she began, her voice unusually soft, "I've been thinking about our earlier conversation. About this thing you call love. It's not clear to me how it works." Jasper looked over at her, momentarily distracted by the way the light from the plants danced across her skin. Her bioluminescent patterns shimmered and shifted with every movement, like liquid silver tracing her form. For a moment, he couldn't find the words. How do you explain the human heart? But he didn't need to say anything. The question in her voice, the curiosity in her eyes, made his heart race. "Well, it's complicated," he began, trying to organize his thoughts. "Love, I mean. It's not just about attraction or physical closeness. It's emotional, psychological, sometimes irrational. It can be messy and unpredictable, but it's also," he hesitated, searching for the right words. "It's what makes us feel alive, Kata. It's about connection." Kata's eyes, deep violet, and filled with wonder, stayed fixed on him as he spoke. She seemed to be absorbing every word, as though his explanation was a puzzle she was determined to solve. "I think I understand," she said thoughtfully. "It's not about just being near someone. It's deeper." She paused for a moment before adding, "But what does it feel like to love someone?" Jasper swallowed. That was the million-dollar question, wasn't it? How do you explain the electric pull of your heart when someone walks into the room? How do you describe the warmth that spreads through your chest when their hand brushes yours? It feels like everything else fades away. When you're with that person, it's like the world stops spinning for a second. You feel safe, but also excited, like you're discovering something new every day. And it makes you want to share every little moment with them, no matter how small," he said, his voice softening. "And you'd do anything to protect them, to keep them safe from harm." Kata looked down at her feet, the soft glow of the forest reflecting in her eyes. That sounds beautiful and complicated. Jasper chuckled, a little nervous. Yeah, it is. It's kind of like trying to hold a handful of stardust. You can never really catch it all, but that doesn't stop you from trying. Kata smiled, a soft, thoughtful smile that lit up her face with a glow even brighter than her bioluminescent patterns. That's poetic, she said, with a twinkle in her eye. Perhaps I will study this stardust concept further. Jasper laughed, the tension in his chest easing. It was nice to see her react with that same sense of humor that he had grown fond of. I'll bet you could write a whole research paper on it, he teased. Kata, always the scientist, seemed to take that challenge seriously. I am intrigued. There is so much to learn. Perhaps I can try this stardust concept myself. Jasper raised an eyebrow. Wait, you mean a test? She said, the playful spark in her voice unmistakable. You said humans kiss as part of this connection, yes. Jasper's face went a little red. Yeah. That's what I was trying to do earlier. You know, before you misunderstood what was happening. He shot her a grin, trying to make light of the awkwardness. Kata looked at him with such genuine curiosity, it almost took his breath away. But I want to understand it better. I must see for myself how it feels, for science, she added with a mischievous smirk. Jasper chuckled, even as his pulse quickened. For science, huh? Well, I guess I'm willing to volunteer for this experiment. But no pressure. Kata's eyes glinted as her bioluminescence flared ever so slightly. No pressure, indeed. For a moment, neither of them moved. The air around them seemed to shimmer with anticipation, as if the entire forest was holding its breath, waiting for what came next. Then, as if some invisible thread pulled them together, Jasper leaned in again slowly, carefully. This time, there was no hesitation, no awkwardness. It felt right. His lips met hers, and the world around them seemed to disappear. The only thing that mattered was the feeling, the warmth, the spark, the undeniable connection. It wasn't just physical. It was everything that had been building between them, the conversations, the laughter, the shared curiosity about each other's worlds. In that kiss, it was as if every moment had led to this one. When they pulled apart, breathless and wide-eyed, Kata's violet eyes shimmered with something deeper than curiosity now. I see, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I see why humans do this. It's not just about merging biology. Jasper couldn't help but laugh, shaking his head in disbelief. I told you, it's about connecting. Emotionally. Mentally. It's about sharing something special. Kata nodded, her bioluminescent patterns swirling with a steady glow. I think I understand now. Love is complicated, but beautiful. It's like, she paused, clearly still processing the concept. Stardust. Jasper grinned. Exactly. You got it. For a moment, they stood there, just looking at each other, both still trying to wrap their minds around the new feelings that had blossomed between them. The connection they had shared in that brief moment was something neither of them had expected, yet both knew it would change everything. "I think," Kata said slowly, a smile spreading across her face, "this is the beginning of something interesting." Jasper laughed softly. "Definitely interesting. And maybe a little messy, but that's love, right?" "Perhaps." Kata's eyes sparkled, her glow brightening. "I look forward to studying it more." Jasper chuckled, his heart lighter than it had been in days. "For science, of course," he said with a wink. The forest around them seemed to glow a little brighter, as if it, too, was aware that something new had begun. Something mysterious, something beautiful. Something human, and something entirely alien. But for them, at that moment, it felt just right. The soft, golden light of Zorgan 9's twin suns was beginning to dip below the horizon, casting long, mysterious shadows across the crystal-clear lake that shimmered with bioluminescent ripples. It was a breathtaking sight, one that Jasper had come to adore since arriving here. And yet, as he stood by the water, staring into the fading light, his mind was a whirlwind of uncertainty. Jasper's heart had been torn for days, ever since the transmission from Earth had come through. The message was clear: they had located him. Earth's rescue team was ready, and a return trip was imminent. It should have been a relief, a cause for celebration, but all he felt was the weight of an impossible decision pressing down on him. In the distance, Kata approached, her footsteps almost silent on the glowing ground, her bioluminescent skin casting an ethereal light as she moved. She had always been captivating, but today, there was a palpable tension between them, a distance that neither of them could ignore. "Jasper." Kata's voice was softer than usual, tinged with an uncertainty that made him pause. "You've been quiet all day. What's troubling you?" Jasper sighed and turned to face her, his hand resting on the glowing bark of a nearby tree, the cool pulse of it sending a tingle through his fingers. "It's complicated," he said, his voice thick with hesitation. "The people back home. They've found me, Kata. Earth's sending a team to bring me back." Kata's eyes flickered with a mixture of confusion and something deeper, something that felt like hurt. She stepped closer, her movements graceful but cautious. "You want to go back, then?" Jasper's throat tightened, the weight of the question settling heavily in his chest. "I don't know. I mean, I should. I have a life there, a career. I've worked my whole life for this research. And my family. They must be going crazy wondering where I am." He paused, swallowing hard. "But what about here? What about us?" Kata didn't respond immediately. She just stood there, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the forest as she processed his words. The silence stretched between them, heavy and loaded with everything they hadn't yet said. "I'm not sure how we fit together, Jasper." Kata's voice broke the silence, low and hesitant. "Your world, your ways, they are so different from mine. You say you want to go back to Earth, but..." She faltered for a moment, her eyes dropping to the ground. "What if we can't have a future? What if our worlds are just too different?" Jasper felt a pang in his chest at her words. He wanted to reassure her, to tell her that they could make it work, that somehow, despite the vastness of the universe and the distance between their worlds, love would be enough. But deep down, he knew the truth. Their differences were so vast, so ingrained, that the reality of their situation was beginning to settle in like the inevitable darkness of night creeping over the horizon. "Caught," Jasper said softly, taking a step toward her. "I don't know. I don't know if we can make it work. But I know that right now, standing here with you, I can't imagine leaving." His voice broke slightly, the vulnerability of the moment catching him off guard. Kata's eyes lifted to meet his, the vulnerability in her expression matching his own. She stepped closer, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing gently in the dim light. "I feel the same," she whispered, her voice trembling just slightly. "But I also know you have a life back there. A world that's not mine. And she hesitated, then reached out, her hand brushing against his, sending a jolt of warmth through his chest. "I don't want to hold you back, Jasper. I want you to be happy, to do what's best for you." The sincerity in her words made his heart ache. He knew she was right. He had responsibilities, dreams, and a future back on Earth. But standing here, with Kata, this woman who had shown him a world so different, so alien, and yet so full of warmth, he couldn't shake the feeling that leaving her behind would be the hardest thing he'd ever do. "What if," he began, then stopped, unsure if he should even voice the thought. But the question escaped him before he could think better of it. "What if I stay?" Kata's eyes widened slightly, her breath catching in her chest. She blinked, as though she hadn't fully processed what he'd said. "Stay." Jasper nodded, his hand finding hers again, the touch grounding him in the midst of the chaos swirling around him. "I don't know if that's the right choice. But maybe there's a way for us to find a balance. A way to bridge our worlds." Kata seemed to consider this, her gaze drifting down to their joined hands. "You would stay, on Zorgan 9? Her voice was soft, almost incredulous, as if the idea itself was something she couldn't fully comprehend. Jasper smiled, a bittersweet expression crossing his face. "Maybe I would. If there's a chance for us to make it work. I want to try. But I need to know you feel the same way." Kata's face softened, her bioluminescent patterns flickering gently like a heartbeat. She stepped closer, the distance between them now almost non-existent, her hand tightening around his. "I want to try, too, Jasper. But I need to know if you're willing to give up your past for this. For me." His heart thudded in his chest, the weight of her words settling over him like a heavy blanket. This wasn't just a question of staying or leaving. It was a question of everything, of their future, their differences, their desires. "I don't know what's waiting for me back on Earth anymore," Jasper confessed, his voice low but steady. "But I know I don't want to miss what's happening here, with you." Kata smiled, her eyes lighting up with something that resembled hope, real, unspoken hope. "Then we will find a way," she said softly. "Even if it's complicated. Even if it takes time. We will make it work." And in that moment, as the light from Zorgan 9's twin suns faded into the horizon, something shifted between them. They didn't have all the answers, and they didn't know what the future held. But they knew one thing for sure: there was something worth fighting for. And that, in itself, was enough to keep going. Are you enjoying this kind of story? Do you think their journey is just beginning, Or is there more out there waiting for them? Leave your comments below. Galactic Conundrums would love to hear your thoughts. Let the story continue. The quiet hum of Zorgan 9's distant sun was almost soothing, but the air between Jasper and Kyle was anything but calm. Their usual spot by the shimmering crystal lake, the one that had become a safe space for them to talk and share, was now filled with an undeniable tension. Jasper ran his fingers through his hair, his nerves fraying as the conversation spiraled out of control. I just don't get it, Kyle. Earth is my home. It's where my family is, where my career is. I can't just stay here forever. Kyle stood opposite him, her usually serene demeanor now marked by frustration. Her bioluminescent patterns, usually a soft glow, pulsed erratically, reflecting the turmoil within her. Why not, Jasper? Her voice was calm but laced with the unmistakable bite of someone trying to control the flood of emotions that threatened to spill over. You talk about home, but I'm here, with you. Can't that be enough? Jasper's heart ached as he looked at her, but the confusion swirling in his mind was clouding his judgment. It's not that simple. My whole life is back there. I can't just abandon everything because he stopped, his voice catching in his throat as he realized the word he was about to say. Kyle's eyes narrowed, her violet gaze hardening like the edges of a storm. Because of what? She demanded, her voice rising just a touch. Because of me? Because of us. Jasper took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing thoughts. This us isn't real, Kyle. Not in a way that matters. There's no future for us. We come from two completely different worlds. There are barriers. I don't even know what a life here would look like, let alone how it would work. How do we even make it work when everything about us is? Before he could finish, Kyle cut him off, her frustration finally giving way to raw emotion. You think I don't know that? Her voice broke through the air, sharp and cutting. You think I don't see the differences between us every single day? The cultures, the worlds, the lives we can never fully share. She stepped forward, closing the distance between them. But I don't care, Jasper. I don't care about any of that. All I know is that what we have, what we're building, it's real. And if you walk away from it just because you're afraid, Her words faltered, the intensity of the moment almost too much to bear. She stopped herself, taking a shaky breath, her glowing skin flickering like a dying ember. Jasper stood there, stunned, his chest tightening as he realized just how much those words had hit him. He had been so focused on what he thought he needed to do, what he should do, that he hadn't truly listened to the one thing that mattered. I'm not afraid, Kyle, he said, his voice softer now, though still thick with the weight of the argument. I'm just confused. I'm not sure how we make it work. We're from different worlds. My family, everything I've worked for, it's all back on Earth. I don't want to throw all of that away. But I don't want to lose you either. Kyle's expression softened, her eyes now filled with understanding, a hint of sadness lingering. Then don't throw it away, Jasper. Don't throw us away. For a long moment, neither of them said anything. The words hung heavy between them, as if the weight of their emotions had turned the air into something thick and tangible. The distance that had opened between them seemed impossible to close, but the truth was simple. Jasper was caught between the life he'd always known and the life he was beginning to realize he wanted. "I can't promise you that it'll be easy," Kata said, her voice gentle now, the edge gone. "But I can promise you that we'll face it together. Every challenge, every unknown. If you want to stay, if you want to be with me, then I will stand by your side. I will learn what it takes, and we'll figure it out together." Jasper looked at her, his mind racing but his heart finally catching up. He saw the sincerity in her eyes, the trust in her voice. And for the first time in a long time, he felt a warmth spread through him that wasn't just confusion or fear. It was hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to make it work. "But what about Earth?" he asked, the question lingering in his mind, despite the clarity starting to form. Kata smiled, her glow softening, almost tender. "Earth will always be there. But Zorgan 9 is here now. And I am here. I'm not asking you to forget your past, Jasper. I'm asking you to choose your future. With me." His heart swelled with something that felt like both relief and excitement. He had been so afraid of losing everything: his life, his career, his sense of self. But what if it wasn't about losing? What if it was about gaining something new? Something worth fighting for? "I don't know what this future looks like, Kata," Jasper said, his voice thick with emotion. "But I know I want to find out. With you." Kata's bioluminescent patterns flared brightly, like the sun finally breaking through the clouds. She stepped closer, her fingers brushing his as she gently cupped his face in her hand, the warmth of her touch grounding him in the present. "Then let's start building it." For the first time since he had arrived on Zorgan 9, Jasper felt the weight of his decision lift. It wasn't going to be easy, and it certainly wouldn't be perfect. But he was no longer afraid of what they couldn't control. He was ready to face whatever came next. And as the last of Zorgan 9's twin moons rose above the horizon, their light casting a soft glow over the two of them, it felt like the beginning of something new, a beginning they would face together, no matter what challenges lay ahead. The grand hall of Zorgan's High Council was bathed in a soft, ethereal glow of bioluminescent light, casting an almost otherworldly aura over the room. The council chamber, nestled deep within the heart of Zorgan 9's capital, was an architectural marvel. Tall, crystal-like structures intertwined with vines that glowed in shifting hues, creating an atmosphere of quiet reverence. The air itself seemed to hum with the anticipation of the moment. Jasper stood beside Kata, their hands subtly brushing together as they awaited the council's decision. The weight of what was happening, the importance of it, settled heavily on his shoulders. He had always imagined that his life's work would culminate in a scientific breakthrough, something logical and predictable. But now, standing on the precipice of something entirely new, it was clear that this was a crossroads that would change not just his life, but the future of two worlds. The council sat at a long, elevated table, their members silhouetted in the soft light of the chamber. Each of them had a different glow to their skin, some hues bright and bold, others soft and subtle, like stars in a distant sky. Their eyes, too, shimmered with ancient wisdom and curiosity as they studied Jasper and Kata. It was clear that this was not just about them. It was about something much bigger, a potential alliance between Earth and Zorgan 9, the blending of two civilizations, two cultures. We have gathered today, the head counselor spoke, her voice deep and resonant, echoing throughout the chamber, to deliberate on the matter of this union. She paused, her violet eyes turning to Kata and then Jasper. The relationship between Kata of the Zorgan Science Academy and Jasper of Earth. Jasper glanced at Kata, who stood tall and calm beside him, her glowing skin reflecting her inner resolve. Her eyes, usually so filled with curiosity and wonder, now held something more, something fierce, something unyielding. He squeezed her hand, silently reassuring himself that whatever happened here, they would face it together. It is our duty, the counselor continued, to ensure that any interaction between our worlds is not only scientifically viable but culturally beneficial. The differences between Zorgan 9 and Earth are vast. Yet, this bond, this unexpected union between two beings from vastly different worlds may hold untold potential. Jasper's heart raced as the weight of her words sank in. This wasn't just about their love, it was about the future, about what this relationship represented for both their species. Could love, in all its chaotic, messy, beautiful complexity, truly be the foundation for cooperation between planets? The Council has reached a consensus, the head counselor said, her voice steady and commanding. We have decided to officially recognize the bond between Kata and Jasper. Jasper's breath caught in his throat as the words hung in the air. He couldn't quite believe that the Council, the leaders of an entire civilization, had just approved their relationship. They were being seen, not just as two individuals with a connection, but as symbols of a new era. Moreover, she continued, we will begin the process of establishing an official link between Earth and Zorgan 9. Diplomatic exchange, scientific cooperation, and cultural understanding will be our first steps toward forging a deeper relationship between our worlds. The room filled with a soft murmur of approval, the glowing eyes of the council members flickering as if they were absorbing the weight of this momentous decision. Jasper felt a surge of relief, of hope as the realization hit him. This wasn't just a dream, a fleeting moment of curiosity. This was real. Kata turned to him, her face lit with a radiant smile, her violet eyes brighter than ever. We did it, she whispered, her voice filled with awe and pride. Jasper couldn't help but smile back, the excitement of the moment rushing over him like a tidal wave. Yeah, we did. Together. He squeezed her hand tighter, feeling the warmth of her touch grounding him in the midst of everything that was changing. The head counselor's voice rang out once more solemn now, as she raised her hand in the air. This decision is not merely the approval of a relationship. It is the beginning of something far greater. The blending of knowledge, culture, and life itself. As Zorgan 9 and Earth begin their journey of mutual understanding, we must face the challenges that lie ahead, together. Jasper's mind raced with the enormity of it all. The challenges, the hurdles, the cultural clashes they would have to overcome. But in the midst of it all, one truth was clear, he and Kata had something that was worth fighting for. They had each other, and together, they would build something new. Something that wasn't just about the survival of their respective worlds, but about the thriving of them, together. Kata's hand rested in his, warm and reassuring. Whatever comes, she said softly, we will face it side by side. This is just the beginning, Jasper. Jasper nodded, his heart full. He wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, he wasn't afraid of it. He had chosen this, chosen her, chosen Zorgan 9. And in doing so, he had chosen a future full of possibilities. As the counselors spoke among themselves, finalizing the official agreements, Jasper and Kata stood there, side by side, looking toward the horizon. The twin moons of Zorgan 9 rose slowly into the sky, their light casting a soft, romantic glow over the landscape. The air felt heavy with promise, with the weight of 1,000 decisions yet to come, but also light with a sense of something new, something alive. "This is just the beginning," Kata repeated, her voice soft but sure. "Our worlds are about to change. And so are we." Jasper smiled, watching the stars begin to appear in the sky above them. He knew that their journey would be anything but easy, but as long as they faced it together, he was ready for whatever came next. "For us," he whispered, "and for both our worlds." As the stars twinkled brightly above them, Jasper and Kata turned toward the future together, ready to face whatever challenges awaited, knowing that their love, their shared commitment, would be the foundation of a new, extraordinary chapter in the history of both Earth and Zorgan 9. And so, with every challenge they faced, Jasper and Kata discovered that love, much like the universe itself, was full of surprises, contradictions, and moments that defied all logic. What started as a scientific curiosity between two beings from different worlds turned into something far deeper, stronger, and more beautiful than either of them could have imagined. Together, they built a bridge not just between their planets, but between their hearts, and in doing so, they changed the course of history forever. But their journey is far from over. As they continue to explore the vastness of space and navigate the complexities of their cultures, who knows what other secrets the universe has in store? The path ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear: their love, their connection, will be the foundation of a new chapter in intergalactic relations. So, what do you think? Could a love like theirs truly change the universe? Or will the differences between their worlds prove too great? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear what you think about this epic tale of love, science, and adventure. And, of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can follow along with the next chapter of this amazing journey. The universe is full of mysteries, and we're just getting started. Keep exploring, and who knows what you'll discover next.